Okay, so today we're going deep on the Queen's Gambit. You sent a really interesting mix of stuff, articles, reviews. Looks like even some behind-the-scenes info about how the show was made.
Right.
And it seems like you're interested in more than just the storyline, right?
Absolutely. There's so much to dig into beyond just the chessboard. Like, you've got stuff on how the show got so popular, the details of Anya Taylor-Joy's performance, even some pretty thought-provoking critiques.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So based on what you sent, it seems like you're really curious about how this show connected with so many different people, even folks who aren't into chess.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So that's what we'll be focusing on in this deep dive. What made the Queen's Gambit such a phenomenon?
Yeah, great. I think a good place to start is that little trivia tidbit from IMDb that you included.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that a lot of studios didn't want to make the Queen's Gambit.
Right.
They thought a chess show wouldn't be popular enough.
Yeah, that does seem kind of counterintuitive, right?
It does.
Chess isn't exactly known for, like, crazy action or shocking plot twists.
You're right.
That's right.
But, and here's the thing. The Queen's Gambit became huge on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, massive hit. Over 62 million viewers.
Wow.
So that right there tells you there's something special about this story.
Right.
Something beyond just the game itself.
Totally. Talk about a power move by Netflix, huh? Okay, so for anyone who hasn't seen it, let's set the scene a little. What's the basic premise of the Queen's Gambit?
Okay, so the show follows Beth Harmon.
Yeah.
She's an orphan who discovers she's amazing at chess.
Okay.
All while she's dealing with, you know, the challenges of growing up in a 1950s orphanage.
Classic underdog story.
Exactly. A young girl, tons of talent,
Right.
rising above her circumstances.
Love it.
But it's not just about her chess skills.
Okay.
The series gets into Beth's personal struggles, too. Like
What?
addiction, loneliness,
Okay.
the weight of her genius, all while dealing with what society expected of women back then.
So it sounds like they aim for a deeper character study than just, oh, look, a chess prodigy.
Totally.
Now, you included a lot of user reviews, and they're raving about Anya Taylor-Joy as Beth.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Then you call it mesmerizing, magnetic. What do you think is it about her performance that clicked with viewers who might not get all the chess stuff?
I think Taylor-Joy just nails Beth's intelligence and intensity.
Oh, yeah.
And she does it in a way that's captivating, but also really accessible.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know the chess moves.
Right.
You can feel the weight of her thinking, the strategy behind every decision.
It's like you're seeing the mental battle play out on screen.
Exactly. And you know what? It's not just Taylor-Joy getting praise. You flagged a review that highlighted Isla Johnston.
Oh, yeah.
She plays young Beth.
Right.
They called her the unsung heroine of the show.
Yeah, that review really stuck with me, too.
She's so good. Johnston captures the same intensity and intelligence as Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
It's a seamless transition between the younger and older Beth.
It's almost like they're two sides of the same coin.
Right. Both showing different facets of this really complex character.
Totally. Sounds like they found the perfect actresses to portray Beth's evolution.
Yeah.
You know, from a quiet, observant kid to this super determined young woman.
Absolutely. And that seamless transition is so important because, like you said earlier, lots of people were into the Queen's Gambit.
Right.
Even if they didn't play chess.
Yeah.
So it clearly went beyond just being about chess and connected with a much wider audience.
Yeah, for sure.
It did.
There's got to be something about Beth's story that resonated with people from all kinds of backgrounds.
Totally. You know, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Several reviews said they loved the show even though they didn't understand chess at all.
Wow, okay.
It seems like the Queen's Gambit tapped into something universal.
Right.
You know, something that speaks to the human experience beyond the specifics of the game.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's dive into some of those universal themes.
Okay, let's do it.
And see what we can uncover.
All right, so one theme that keeps popping up in your sources is this idea of visual storytelling.
Okay.
A lot of the reviews praised the visuals of the show.
Okay.
The 1960s setting, the clothes, the cinematography.
Right.
Especially during the chess matches.
So they made chess visually interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Even for those of us who wouldn't know a Queen's Gambit from, like, a gambling queen.
Right, exactly.
How did they do that?
Well, they used all sorts of techniques to make the chess matches come alive.
Okay.
You know, dynamic camera work, clever editing, a great musical score.
Yeah.
For example, in one match,
Okay.
Beth's facing this really aggressive opponent. The camera zooms in on the pieces as they're moved,
Okay.
creating the sense of speed and urgency.
Right.
The music builds tension.
Gotcha.
And then when Beth makes her winning move, the camera goes right to her face, capturing this little flicker of triumph in her eyes.
Wow. That's smart.
Right.
It's like you're not just watching pieces being moved around.
No.
You're experiencing the whole emotional roller coaster of the game through Beth's eyes.
Exactly. The creators took this intellectual battle and made it into a visual and emotional experience. So it worked for both chess fans and casual viewers.
Okay, so we've got interesting characters, beautiful visuals, and a story that's not just about chess.
Right.
What else makes this show so appealing?
Well, The Queen's Gambit doesn't shy away from those deeper, more universal themes. As Beth rises in the chess world, we see her struggling with addiction, feeling lonely, grappling with what her brilliance costs her.
Like that classic torture genius thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And they don't sugarcoat the darker parts of her journey.
Okay.
We see her mess up, battle her demons, and ultimately face the consequences.
So it's a more realistic take on genius then.
Totally.
Acknowledging that brilliance doesn't equal happiness or emotional stability.
Exactly. And I think that's part of what resonated with people. You know, her struggles with addiction, loneliness, the pressure to succeed.
Yeah.
Those are things everyone can relate to, even if they're not a genius or anything.
Okay, this is getting really interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Let's get into those tougher parts of Beth's story.
Okay.
Let's see what we can learn.
Let's go. Yeah, earlier you mentioned you're interested in how the show portrays addiction.
Right.
And that definitely sparked a lot of discussion in these reviews you sent.
Yeah, some people felt they handled it realistically, while others thought it was glamorized. Or that it didn't really show the consequences enough.
Right.
What do you think about those different opinions?
It's tricky, isn't it? I can see both sides.
Yeah.
On the one hand, the show doesn't hide the destructive parts of Beth's addiction. Like we see her making bad choices, hurting her relationships, putting her health at risk.
So it's not just a casual thing for her.
Definitely not.
It has real consequences.
Yeah. But then again, some viewers might say it doesn't fully go into the long-term effects of addiction. Or how complicated recovery can be.
It seems like the show focuses more on the immediate impact.
Yeah, you're right.
Like how it affects Beth's chess, her relationships right then and there.
Exactly.
Rather than the bigger long-term consequences.
Right. And that might be where some viewers felt it fell short.
Okay.
Addiction is a multifaceted thing,
For sure.
And showing it completely on screen is tough.
It raises an interesting question, though.
It does.
About the responsibility of creators when they're showing sensitive topics like that.
Right.
How do you balance keeping it real with the impact it might have on viewers who are dealing with similar things?
Yeah, it's a tough balance for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, creators have a responsibility to portray addiction, honestly, but also avoid those harmful stereotypes.
It's about finding that sweet spot, I guess.
Yeah.
Between authenticity and being sensitive.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that got people talking was the pacing.
Okay.
Some thought it was a little slow.
Yeah.
Especially in the later episodes. As someone who knows chess, did you find it predictable?
That's a good question.
Or were you still drawn in by Beth's journey?
I could kind of guess some of the chess outcomes just from knowing how the game works.
Right.
But I was still really into Beth's emotional journey.
Okay.
The ups and downs, her struggles, her triumphs, how she navigated that whole chess world.
So even for someone who gets the chess part, there's still a compelling story there.
Totally. The characters, the relationships, the themes, like ambition, loneliness, what it means to be a genius.
Right.
All that kept me hooked, even when I could see where the chess match was going.
So it balances the intellectual and the emotional.
Yeah.
So there's something there for chess fans and for people who are more into the human drama.
Exactly. And that might explain why so many different kinds of people loved it. It offered different layers, appealed to viewers on different levels.
Speaking of appealing to different viewers, you pointed out how the show didn't use those stereotypical Russian portrayals.
Right.
I'm curious, how is this portrayal different from what we usually see in Cold War stories?
Well, usually in those Cold War stories,
yeah,
Russians are the bad guys, the antagonists.
Right.
But The Queen's Gambit doesn't do that.
So they kind of humanize the enemy?
Yeah.
They show that even when there's all this political tension, people can still share common interests and respect each other's talents.
Exactly. The Russian chess players are shown as passionate, dedicated, even worthy opponents. They're not just like caricatures or symbols.
Right.
They're real characters, with their own motivations and complexities.
It's refreshing to see that.
It is.
Especially in a story set during such a politically charged time.
For sure.
It adds that nuance and complexity. It reminds you that even with global conflicts going on, human connection can go beyond those political boundaries.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, the music was another thing that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
How they used it to make scenes more emotional.
Right.
A lot of reviews mentioned the soundtrack. What are your thoughts on how they used music in the show?
The music is amazing.
It is.
It's not just there in the background. It's a key part of the storytelling.
Okay.
Like, it swells up when things are tense. It gets softer during vulnerable moments.
Right.
And it totally captures the mood of each scene.
It's like the music becomes another character.
It does. And the music choices reflect that 1960s setting.
Okay.
You hear everything from classical pieces to jazz to early rock and roll.
Yeah.
Creating this sonic world that really pulls you into that time.
So it's not just about the chess.
It's not.
It's the music, the fashion, the whole social scene, all working together to take you back to the 60s.
Exactly. And that attention to detail.
Right. That effort to create a truly immersive experience.
Yeah.
It's another reason why the Queen's Gambit connected with so many people.
It's like stepping into a time capsule.
Yeah.
As a whole cultural experience.
Yeah, totally.
Now, let's talk about how the show portrays Beth's journey as a woman in a male-dominated world.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on how they handled that aspect of her story?
I think the show does a good job of highlighting the challenges she faces.
Yeah.
As a woman in competitive chess.
Right.
She deals with sexism, prejudice, doubts about her abilities, all because she's a woman.
It's like she constantly has to prove herself.
She does.
Not just as a good chess player,
Right.
but as a woman who deserves to be taken seriously.
Exactly.
In this world that's always been dominated by men.
Totally.
And the show shows those subtle and not so subtle ways that society tried to hold women back.
Yeah, it does.
Especially back then. It's like she's not just playing against her opponents.
She's not.
She's battling these societal expectations.
Right. These ingrained biases that try to keep her in her place.
Exactly. And that struggle, that determination to break free, I think that connected with a lot of viewers.
Yeah.
Especially women who face similar things in their own lives.
It's a reminder that the fight for equality isn't over.
It's not.
And there are still barriers to break down.
Definitely.
Even now in the 21st century.
Absolutely.
And Beth's story is inspiring.
Yeah.
It shows you can defy expectations, challenge the status quo, achieve success on your own terms, no matter what obstacles get thrown your way.
You got it.
Now, speaking of obstacles, one thing that stood out to me was how they showed the mental and emotional demands of playing chess at such a high level.
Yeah, the show really captures the intensity of those matches.
It does.
The strategic thinking, the psychological pressure,
right.
The sheer mental stamina you need to compete at that level.
We see Beth studying her, analyzing moves, even visualizing the game in her head.
Right.
It really shows the dedication and focus it takes to be that good.
Absolutely. And the series doesn't shy away from showing how that pressure affects Beth mentally and emotionally.
It's like she's not just playing chess.
She's not.
It's a battle of wits, a psychological duel.
Exactly.
That takes everything she's got.
Right. And I think a lot of viewers related to that.
Okay.
Even if they don't know anything about chess.
Yeah.
It speaks to the challenges we all face when we're chasing our passions, the sacrifices we make, the toll it can take on us.
It reminds you that even people who seem super talented often pay a price for their brilliance.
They do.
They sacrifice time, energy, sometimes even their own well-being to reach their goals.
It's a good reminder.
It is.
About finding balance, setting boundaries, taking care of yourself, even when you're chasing your dreams.
Absolutely.
It is.
Now, while a lot of people loved Anya Taylor-Joy's performance, some felt like certain scenes took away from the main story. What do you think about that criticism?
Yeah, I get where they're coming from. Some viewers thought those scenes, particularly the ones about Beth's relationships or her sexuality, weren't really necessary.
Okay.
Maybe even distracting from the main plot.
It sounds like those viewers were more interested in Beth as a chess player.
Yeah.
And they thought, those other parts of her life weren't important to the story.
Right. They might have felt those scenes didn't add much to her character or move the story forward in a meaningful way.
It's all about perspective, right?
Totally. What clicks with one person might not click with another.
Yeah, and some viewers might have liked those scenes.
Yeah, maybe they saw them as a way to make Beth more human.
Yeah.
To show she's not just a chess-playing robot,
right.
but a complex person with desires and vulnerabilities.
Right. It's about what parts of the story resonate with you.
Yeah.
And what you think is important for character development and the story's focus. Now, another thing that came up in the reviews was comparing the Queen's Gambit to the movie Pawn Sacrifice, which is about the real-life chess prodigy Bobby Fischer.
Right.
Did you see any parallels between the two stories?
Oh, definitely. They both explore what it means to be a genius, the pressures of competing, the toll it can take on someone mentally and emotionally.
They both look at the darker side of brilliance.
Yeah, exactly.
The sacrifices that are made in the pursuit of being the best.
Right. And both stories highlight the importance of mentors.
Yeah.
And the impact other people can have on shaping a prodigy's journey.
It's like the mentors are guides, challengers, even warnings, sometimes helping the prodigy navigate that tricky world.
Totally.
You know, one thing I found really fascinating
Yeah.
was how this show portrayed the psychological side of chess.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just about the moves.
Definitely not.
It's a whole mental game.
Yeah, they really get into the mental battles during those matches.
They do.
All the strategic thinking, the calculated risks,
Right.
the psychological warfare between opponents.
We see Beth analyzing her opponents, trying to figure out their strategies, even playing mind games to get an edge.
It's like a high-stakes game of mental chess.
It is.
Where intuition, strategy, emotional resilience all play a part in winning.
And it reminds you that even in the most intellectual things, the human element matters.
Totally.
With all its complexities and vulnerabilities.
Right.
Okay, now let's talk about the 1960s vibe of the show.
Yeah, that was cool.
The fashion, the music, all of it.
A lot of reviewers loved the costumes, the hairstyles, the set design.
They did. They said it transported them right back to that decade.
It was like stepping into a time machine.
It was. Beth's clothes, the interiors, the cars, everything.
This is so stylish.
Yeah, and the music fit perfectly.
It did.
Creating this whole immersive experience.
Totally. And that attention to detail.
Yeah.
That effort to recreate the 1960s so authentically.
Right.
And it's another reason why the Queen's Gambit was so successful.
For sure.
It's more than just a show. It's a time capsule.
It is.
A whole cultural experience.
Exactly.
Speaking of experiencing the world through a different lens.
Okay.
Let's talk about how they portrayed Russia and Russian chess players.
Right. Remember, the show was set during the Cold War.
Yeah.
A time of major tension between the U.S. and the Soviet Union.
Right.
But a lot of reviewers pointed out that they didn't show Russians as the typical bad guys.
So they took a more nuanced approach.
They did.
Recognizing that people can share passions and respect each other's talents.
Yeah.
Even when there's political conflict.
Exactly. And people really appreciated that nuanced portrayal.
Yeah.
It added depth and complexity to the story.
It reminds you that even when there are global conflicts, human connection can go beyond politics.
It can.
It's about empathy and understanding,
Right.
even when you're dealing with people who seem different or have different views. Absolutely.
One thing that came up a lot in the reviews is that the Queen's Gambit is about more than just chess.
Oh, totally.
Chess is the background. But a lot of people saw it as a story about overcoming obstacles, fighting your demons, finding your place in the world. It's about ambition, determination, but also about relationships. Addiction, the search for who you are.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so powerful. It goes beyond just chess.
And connects with people on a deeper level.
Totally.
It reminds us that even stories about specific skills or passions can offer insights into the human experience.
They can.
Exploring themes that are universal and timeless.
It's the power of storytelling.
It is.
To connect us, to make us feel seen, to challenge our assumptions,
Right.
and to inspire us to strive for our own kind of excellence.
Okay, this has been a super insightful deep dive.
It has.
We've covered the good, the bad, the themes, the impact of the Queen's Gambit. I feel like we really understand what made this show such a phenomenon.
Me too.
But what are your final thoughts?
Okay, so what really fascinates me is how the Queen's Gambit grabbed so many different kinds of people.
Right.
Even people who weren't originally into chess.
Yeah.
It started conversations about addiction, gender roles, genius, what it means to be human. It became a cultural touchstone.
It did.
You know, making people think about their own lives, their passions, their struggles.
It's a testament to how art can break boundaries.
It is.
Start conversations, make us think differently
Totally.
about ourselves and the world around us.
You know what? That review praising Isla Johnston, the younger Beth.
Oh, yeah, she was great.
It made me realize that while Anya Taylor-Joy was amazing, her performance was built on what that young actress did.
That's a great point. It shows how connected storytelling is.
Right.
Even small roles can have a big impact on the whole story. It's like the performance of a child actor can plant a seed.
It can.
And it shapes how we see the character even before the adult actor takes over.
Exactly. It highlights how important those behind-the-scenes people are.
It does.
Their talent might not be front and center, but they're essential to making the whole thing work.
Yeah.
They are.
One thing I keep thinking about is how important mentorship is in Beth's journey.
Oh, definitely.
You know, from Mr. Chabelle, the janitor who teaches her chess, to all those experienced players she meets.
Right.
She benefits from their guidance, their support, even the tough love they give her.
It's like each mentor shapes her skills, her strategy, her character. Even they help her become a better player and deal with the challenges she faces.
Even the most brilliant people need guidance and support, right?
They do.
Asking for help can be key to success.
Definitely.
It's a good reminder that we don't have to do everything alone.
We don't.
There are people who want to help. They want to share what they know, their experiences, their passion.
Right.
It's about human connection.
Yeah.
And the ripple effect that one person's willingness to invest in another can have.
Totally.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I keep thinking about how the show explores the nature of genius.
Yeah, they don't shy away from showing how complex and challenging it can be.
We see Beth struggling with loneliness, addiction, the pressure to live up to everyone's expectations. Like she's always fighting her own demons.
Yeah, even as she's beating her opponents on the board.
It makes you question how society sees genius.
It does.
Like we romanticize it.
Yeah.
But don't really understand what it's like for those who have it.
Right. It challenges us to look beyond those simple ideas of genius, to see that even the most brilliant people are human. They are.
With weaknesses, flaws, and the need for connection and support.
Absolutely.
The Queen's Gambit reminds us that genius isn't a solo act. It thrives on community, mentors, even healthy competition.
Totally.
Now, another thought-provoking thing is how they explore that tension between ambition and self-destruction.
Right. Beth is so driven to succeed in chess.
Yeah.
But that ambition is tied up with her addiction and self-sabotage.
It's like two sides of the same coin.
It is.
You know, she's constantly fighting herself, even as she's winning against others.
It makes you think about the sacrifices we make for our goals.
It does.
And how important it is to find that balance between ambition and well-being.
We should never achieve our dreams at the cost of our mental, emotional, or physical health.
It encourages us to think about what really drives us, our values, the choices we make as we chase our dreams.
Absolutely.
Now, one thing that really resonated with people was how the show portrayed resilience.
Oh, totally.
Despite all the setbacks, the tragedies, her own self-destructive tendencies, Beth keeps getting back up.
She's a fighter, a survivor.
She is.
And that ability to bounce back from hard times is inspiring and relatable.
Totally. Her story reminds us that even when things are really tough, we can persevere, learn from our mistakes, and come out stronger on the other side.
It's about the human spirit, right?
Yeah.
Our ability to adapt, to grow, to find hope.
Even in the darkest times.
It encourages us to embrace our own resilience.
It does.
You know, to remember that setbacks and failures aren't the end.
They're not.
They're opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean?
Good question.
The Queen's Gambit is clearly not just about chess.
It's not.
It's a captivating character study, a beautiful period piece, and a story that millions connected with, even if they didn't know anything about chess.
Right.
It shows the power of storytelling.
It does.
To connect us, challenge us, make us think, and inspire us.
It leaves us with a question. What other niche topics could be turned into great stories?
Yeah, with the right talent, vision, and storytelling.
Right.
What hidden worlds, unexpected passions, mundane skills or interests could capture the imaginations of millions.
It's something to think about.
It is.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning,
Yeah.
and keep diving deep.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
How a show about chess, something some people might think is kind of niche,
Yeah.
became so popular.
Uh-huh.
It really shows how universal some human experiences are, right?
Right.
Like ambition, resilience, loneliness, that struggle to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
These are things everyone can relate to,
They are.
no matter your background or interests.
Exactly. It's like the Queen's Gambit found the shared emotional space.
It did.
Where we all connect through those common threads of being human.
And that's what makes art so powerful.
Which is.
It breaks boundaries, brings people together, reminds us that we're all connected. Now, Beth's relationship with her adoptive mom, Alma Wheatley.
Oh, yeah.
That was really interesting.
It was.
It seemed like people had different interpretations of their dynamic.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's a complex relationship.
It is.
Adds a whole other layer to the story.
Yeah, some viewers saw Alma as a supportive figure, encouraging Beth's talent.
Yeah.
Even she didn't always understand it.
Right.
It's like she gave Beth stability, structure, a sense of home that she didn't have in the orphanage.
Right.
But other people saw Alma as more flawed.
Yeah.
Maybe even enabling Beth's addictions. Not always acting in her best interest.
Yeah, good point.
Their relationship was this tricky balance.
It was.
Love, dependence.
Yeah.
Maybe even codependency.
It's that complexity, that nuance that makes it so interesting.
It's not black and white, right?
Not at all.
It's all shades of gray.
Totally. It's like they're both dealing with their own stuff. And their relationship becomes this mini version of those bigger struggles.
Alma is dealing with loneliness, disillusionment, and Beth's fighting addiction and the pressure of her chess career.
Right. It shows that even in families, people are on their own paths.
They are.
And those paths can clash.
Yeah. It highlights the challenges of being a parent.
It does.
Especially when your kid is gifted, but also troubled.
Yeah. It's like they're both trying to figure out how to support each other, but also stay true to themselves.
It's relatable, right?
It is.
That tension, that balance.
Yeah.
Something a lot of families deal with.
Absolutely.
Earlier, you mentioned some people thought the pacing was off. Were there specific scenes you felt dragged? Could they have done things differently to make the story tighter?
You know, personally, I thought some of the scenes about Beth's romantic relationships could have been shorter or even cut out completely.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have hurt the emotional core of the story.
It sounds like those scenes, even though they were probably meant to show more of Beth's character,
Yeah, I think so.
might have felt unnecessary to some viewers.
Yeah.
Especially those who are more interested in her as a chess player.
Right. They might have preferred a tighter focus on Beth's internal struggles.
Yeah.
Her relationship with chess and her journey of self-discovery.
It would have made the story more streamlined.
Yeah.
More emotionally powerful.
For sure.
Now, the ending in the series, some people liked it. Others thought it was predictable, maybe even anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What are your thoughts on how Beth's story ended?
I think it depends on what you were looking for.
Okay.
On one hand, it does give you that sense of closure.
Yeah.
Like Beth has conquered her demons and achieved mastery in her field.
It's the classic hero's journey.
It is.
The protagonist goes through all these trials.
Right. But comes out on top in the end. For people who are rooting for Beth, that ending probably felt satisfying.
Yeah.
Even inspiring. But some people might have wanted something more unexpected.
Right.
Less straightforward.
Maybe they were hoping for a more open ending.
Yeah.
Something that left them thinking about the possibilities.
Right.
Instead of giving them all the answers. Maybe they wanted a more realistic take on success.
Yeah.
You know, showing that even when you reach your goals,
there's still challenges and uncertainties. That's a good point.
Life is messy, right?
It is.
And sometimes the best stories are the ones that don't tie everything up neatly.
I agree.
So even though the ending might not have worked for everyone, it definitely got people talking and thinking.
It did.
Which is a sign of a good story, right?
Definitely. Great art makes you think, makes you feel, gets you talking, challenges your views.
Well said. So to wrap up our deep dive into the Queen's Gambit, I'm just impressed with how they made a story about chess. Something that could have been niche into something so universal.
Right. It speaks to those core human experiences.
It does.
Ambition, resilience, how complex we are as people.
It reminds us that the best stories are often the ones that explore what it means to be human.
Exactly.
Our weaknesses, our triumphs, the strength of the human spirit.
And it leaves us with that question. What other niche topics are out there?
Right.
Just waiting to be turned into compelling stories.
What hidden worlds, what unexpected passions, what seemingly ordinary skills or interests could capture people's imaginations.
It's something to think about.
It is. Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep learning.
Keep diving deep.